What is it really like in El Salvador? What are all the details? What about the cost of living, groceries, housing, bugs, diseases, water safety, all of these things? This is what I'm going to go through in this video, as I've gotten a ton of questions about this since posting my interview with Dr. Jack Cruz, and as well connected to an older video that I did on the benefits that I experienced visiting El Salvador. I've been to El Salvador 4 times now in less than a year, and I have helped my mom move there full time, and I'm also moving there full time. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Emmanuel Urbani. I'm a health and nutrition practitioner. If you want to learn more about working with me, I've linked details in the description, including lots of free resources. I want to preface the information that I'm going to provide you in this video about El Salvador with the fact that as a kid, I spent a lot of time in India. So my expectations and familiarity with third world countries might be different than some of you watching this. And essentially, I was expecting third world. And when I say third world, I was thinking about India. And my primary concerns were I want less bugs than India and I want less gross bugs than India. First topic to tackle is going to be cost of living, money, and all of the details related to that. So in El Salvador, they use US dollars and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very, very commonly accepted almost everywhere. And the cost of living in terms of groceries and the daily little things that you experience is relatively low. The cost of housing is likely higher than in some places in the US. Now, as I am from Canada, for me, the cost of housing is much more affordable than Canada currently. And the grocery cost is particularly reduced if you shop like a local, which is important to note because in the recent last 5 years, there has been, grocery chains and Costco lookalikes that have popped up where the cost of food is much higher compared to local shopping zones such as fish markets and meat markets and the like. So that's that. It's relatively easy to take out money and use American and Canadian cards in El Salvador, like credit cards are accepted almost anywhere. However, it's typically tricky to take money out from a credit card if you're a person that doesn't like to travel with your debit card. If you do need to take out cash and you're not cashing out Bitcoin or using Bitcoin as a means of payment, while you're there, typically you need a debit card to take out additional money. Now, when it comes to bugs, okay, because that's a big one that people always think about. First of all, it's a mountainous country, and even though it's small, there's multiple different areas. So if you're going up in the mountain, the climate's going to be very different if you're down at the beach. And, I've spent most of my time there down at the beach. The bugs are pretty good. There are mosquitoes, of course, and I've gotten tons of mosquito bites while there, as is normal when going to visit a tropical country. As far as other bugs goes, or gross bugs goes, or scary bugs goes, definitely, of course, there are scorpions. Now, scorpions in El Salvador are not super poisonous, although it does hurt. My understanding is you won't die from a scorpion bite, not the ones that they have there. They do have tarantulas and spiders and stuff like that. I've never really seen anything big. Lizards and geckos are the things that you tend to see the most. And they're great because the little ones, they eat bugs. So that's awesome. And as far as cockroaches go, as somebody, again, coming from India where the cockroaches fly and they're the size of your hand, it's nothing like that. It's much, much, much better. And it's not that hard to keep bugs out of your house as long as you keep it clean and maintained and living and go by some basic practices when it comes to food storage and things like that. So because it's a very hot country and they tend to have frequent power outages in the small beach towns particularly, You'll notice that the stuff that is in your fridge does not last as long as it would in your fridge if you're in Canada or the USA. That's an important thing to consider. You're also going to tend to store a lot of stuff in the fridge that you wouldn't normally because it just gets really hot and people don't use AC. That's not a common thing. Air conditioning is for nighttime only. And you're going to want to make sure that the jars and storage things that you use are very well sealed. And because of the humidity and salt, especially if you live near the ocean, if you're using mason jars, for example, plastic tops are going to last way longer than metal tops. Like those are the little things to consider. And when it comes to water and food safety, it, of course, like anywhere else, is totally possible to get sick eating food. I haven't eaten street food. That's typically what they tell you to avoid, which is where you'll have stands on the street selling ceviche and pupusas, which are really popular there. That I always avoided. But eating at restaurants and even beach kind of local food places has never been an issue for any of us that have been there. And the water is not the same. So while the water isn't potable, if you're comparing it to a true third world country like India, it's not like you're going to get horribly sick from brushing your teeth with it. It's not an issue. You can brush your teeth with it, swish your mouth with it, whatever, if you want to. And you're really not likely to get sick. Whereas in India, you touch the water and touch your mouth and you're in the toilet for a week. That's how it used to be anyways. But it's not that bad there. Obviously, for cooking and drinking, you're going to buy water. Spring water is very readily available there, but certain things like pumps and cold water refrigeration units are less easy to do unless you look for specific ones. Now let's talk about diseases like mosquito-borne illnesses. Of course, it's always common and possible, particularly in tropical countries. That being said, there are things that can be done about this, like having handy medications on hand or certain things that are available on the shelf and over the counter that you might want to keep on hand over there in case you happen to get bit by a diseased mosquito. That being said, of the hundreds of mosquito bites, our whole family has gotten, and that has never been an issue. But I do know somebody, and it was a local that did get dengue fever. So, of course, you can 100% get sick, but it's kind of like anything else. Just be prepared. And I wouldn't worry about that any further. It's not as huge of a prevalent issue as some other areas. As far as air quality goes, in certain regions, they do have a practice of burning dry leaves, and there's no real law around that. So people will burn garbage, and it's not in huge amounts like other countries where the air quality is super, super bad. But you got to remember when it comes to countries like that, that you are seeing things that are hidden from you in your home country. So, if you're in Canada or the US, you may not see garbage around that much, but we ship our garbage and dump it in the ocean, right? There you might see it. And this is kind of where it's important, if you are a decentralized thinker, that you are not expecting other people to clean it up for you. Instead, make a point to be the leader and clean up this is about example. Think there's too much garbage being left around a local place? Organize something, organize a garbage cleanup, get local involved. You have to be the leader in yourself, in your own space. You can't look to authority to do it for you. And same with, you know, things that they do for mosquitoes, like spraying. It's important to understand and take the information of what they spray. So every year they tend to spray something to prevent mosquito infestations in certain areas. The contents of the spray are available on the government website, and I would highly be caution you against using artificial intelligence to source the ingredients. The information that they're providing you is not accurate. Artificial intelligence is not accurate. Don't use it, especially for information gathering. It needs to be verified, and if you verify every single source, you're going to see that I'm right. And as someone who reads and learns very fast, I have proven this to many, many people and myself hundreds of times. So there are reputable sources for information and there are irreputable sources for information. So those are things that we see. And because it looks bad because you see it in person and it's obvious. Whereas if you think of what we experience in Canada or the US with the spraying of toxic chemicals everywhere, signs, pesticides being used everywhere, genetically engineered food everywhere, all of these other things that are happening, they're just less visible in public view and they're more hidden. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. They're just different. That's important to consider when you look at any other country, not just this country. And when it comes to the language, so it's a Spanish speaking country and it's important to learn Spanish. It's not that easy to get around speaking English. I'm sure it can be done, but unless you have a translator, a driver that speaks English and is bilingual, of which, if you're thinking of doing that, I have many contacts in that regard. But it's important to learn the language. It's important because it's not like you're going to an all-inclusive resort where most everybody will be able to speak some English or the important information will be in English. This is not like that. You need to take the time to learn a little bit of Spanish. Now, regions. I haven't visited every single region, and if you're seriously considering going there, there are certain areas of El Salvador that you're going to want to explore, and you're going to kind of want to just look at everything, right? You have your beach areas, you have lots of mountainous areas, you have volcanoes with different little microclimates, and this is a matter of personal preference and exploration. I personally have visited a few different areas, Casa del Sol Beach, which is a very, very long and very large area. I visited some places in there. I visited regions of La Libertad and some beaches in there, as well as gone into the city. So this is just a matter of exploring and looking at it as an adventure, and there's really no replacement for actually going there. As far as safety goes, there has never been any experience that we've had or issues with safety. And while smart practices are going to be good anywhere that you go, if you're thinking and comparing travel, I'm going to use two places that I've been, let's say Rome, where you have to be really careful where you put your purse and where you put your wallet because people will pickpocket you extremely quickly, or in many even little towns of Italy right now, where thieves and robbers are so rampant, everybody needs intensive security systems or you'll get broken into. This is not the case in El Salvador. You can be relaxed when it comes to carrying your purse and having it on you. Obviously, don't forget it anywhere, but it's not like in Italy or Rome specifically where you have to always put your hand on it. You want anti-theft zippers and all of these things. It's not like that. It's much safer. I've taken many Ubers there, gotten into random vehicles, given lifts by strangers with no issues. So I would definitely rank it very high on the safety. And that's my summarized rundown of El Salvador. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments.